Welcome to Guiding Families Forward Through Divorce.
Hello and welcome back to Guiding Families Forward Through Divorce with attorney Ann Hamer. Ann is a family law attorney and founding partner of Hamer & Taylor with offices in Memphis as well as Nashville. She focuses on guiding high net worth clients through divorce with discretion, strategy, and compassion, helping families move forward with clarity and confidence. My name is Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're talking about mediation. Ann will explain how it works in divorce and when it can be the right path forward. Ann, welcome back. It's great to see you.
Hey, Kevin, thanks for having me. I'm pretty psyched because mediation is one of my favorite things to explain to clients. You know, it can be very confusing.
Right.
It can be scary, but it's something that in Tennessee, where I live, it's mandatory. So it's best to let everybody understand what it can do and what it can't do and why I'm a big fan. I love it. And I think it's good for everybody.
Well, let's just start with the basics then. Can you just explain what it is and how it fits into the divorce process?
Absolutely. So our courts mandate that the parties go to mediation before there's a trial. Some courts will even do what is like a second mediation. So the first mediation you set up with your chosen mediator, and some of the bigger city courts, for instance, Davidson County, have their own mediators. And before you can go to trial, they will make you mediate yet again with their mediator. That one's free on the taxpayer dime. Of course, your lawyers are there. But here's what mediation is. Let's start with that. What mediation is it's a sit down with your lawyer and a person that you and your spouse choose to be the mediator with the advice of your lawyer and your spouse's lawyer. Depending on the complexity of your case, depending on how quickly you want to get into mediation, those are some of the qualifications to pick a mediator. Obviously, I'm going to pick somebody I think is extremely experienced in family law. Sometimes I am looking for a mediator who can relate to a specific type of client. But in any event, you are going to choose one with your lawyer. You will pick a date, and your lawyer will have your case prepared for that mediator to hear when you get there. So one of the things people are always scared about is, am I going to be in the room with my spouse? What do you want to do? If you get along with your spouse and you think, we could hash this out, all four of us sitting in a room with the mediator, have at it. Some mediators in the old days used to even require that. Typically, you will not be in a room with your spouse. You'll be by yourself in a room with your lawyer, and your spouse will be in another room with his or her lawyer, and the mediator will go back and forth. Mediators aren't just there to take offers back and forth. They're there to give expertise on the judge, the district you're in, the type of decisions that come down in that district, family law. They won't give you legal advice, but they will give you their thoughts on your positions and whether they're reasonable or not. And it's really, really helpful to hear that because you're paying for it. You might as well. It's almost like you've got a second lawyer there to tell you, some things they think are important for you to know to get your case settled. So with a mediator going back and forth, they're there to facilitate your ideas and your lawyer's ideas. And prior to mediation, I write what I call a mediation statement. Most mediators require one. Some want a very detailed one with all the financial information attached. Some, in a smaller case, you might not need to go into that much detail. Some, there might be a lot of emotional background that the mediator needs to know in order to be able to work with the parties. So that's kind of the head start to mediation, getting the mediator all the information they need, let them read it, understand it. Sometimes I'll just tell them, give me a call so I can discuss some things that I wouldn't want to put in writing that I think are really personal to my client. Sometimes it's just, I need to give you a heads up of where we're stuck. And I will say this, there are special mediators who are trained. I'm trained in domestic violence mediation, and there are mediators who are trained in domestic violence mediation as well. So if you are in a case like that where there's domestic violence alleged or already somebody's already under a restraining order, something like that, that's the kind of mediator you want for your case, because they're going to be overlapping or overlying issues or even underlying issues that need to be addressed, as well as parenting plans and the financial issues as well. So that's how you kind of start going into mediation. That should be your thought process of going in.
It sounds like it's quite a bit like less stressful on the clients.
It is. For the lawyers, we don't prepare like we would prepare for court, and the clients certainly aren't going to court. So
Yeah.
what we'll prepare for the mediator is not going to be as intense as having to hand up exhibits to a judge and make sure the witness understands how to talk about the exhibit and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
It may be similar evidence that we want to show to the mediator, but we just put it all together in a packet and let them know, here are the tax returns. Here's the latest business valuation. Maybe here are some pleadings that have gone back and forth, or some items that have been disclosed that we think the mediator ought to know, and a case summary. So for my clients, they usually come at it with a couple different viewpoints that aren't right. One, they do think it's like trial, and so they're very, very nervous, and they're very afraid to see the spouse, or they think their spouse is going to be unreasonable and they're going to hate being in a room with them. And when I explain, you're not going to be in a room with that person, they're going to be over there, and we'll let the mediator try to deal with them. You and I are just going to work together on all our ideas. Everybody can calm down. This is just a place for you to really get your voice heard in how you want to settle your own divorce. The other thing I think people sometimes get wrong is they think it is court, and they think, oh, I'll get, the mediator will decide. The mediator doesn't decide anything. The mediator doesn't make your spouse do anything. The mediator comes up with ideas and solutions that you might not have thought of, that your lawyer has possibly thought of, but not able to get you to agree to. And so if you trust your mediator and you start to trust the process as you're in it, you'll see things move along. Now, let me say, everyone needs to be prepared in a mediation with the money numbers. There should never be a mediation that starts where people don't know what's in all the bank accounts, what are all the debts, what are the assets and liabilities. That has to be exchanged before you ever go into mediation. And I see more and more lawyers just trying to push right into mediation and get an agreement where, how can I possibly advise my client to agree when they don't know what the assets are, or where my client does know and gets them and understands them very well, but the other side hasn't been educated about it yet. That's the most frustrating. You might spend 10 hours in there and, thousands and thousands of dollars on a mediator when one party's not educated on the finances.
They're not even prepared for the mediation.
They're not prepared for the mediation. So my goal now is I try to always exchange settlement offers before mediation if I can. If I can't, then for sure my client's got to have a good understanding of the financial information, and I try to spoon feed it to the other side. So a good example of that is if you've got the high earning spouse, and that's the person who's always understood what all the assets and the liabilities are and where everything is, and the non-earner or the spouse that might just be too busy to focus on that or has never focused on that, you need to get with their lawyer way ahead of mediation and start sending over information so that 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 person's starting to get a picture of what it looks like. Experts can be really, really helpful here, because if you've got a financial expert to run through the numbers, then that financial expert can sit down with the spouse who's more confused about the information and give them some comfort about it. Mediators can do that too. Once they see what the assets and liabilities are, they can give you a lot of comfort. And as I've looked at it, and this is where I think you ought to go with it.
In high asset, high conflict cases, is mediation still effective, or does it get more difficult when there's I don't know, more money on the table, if you will?
It can last a few more days. So
Okay.
what I've started to do is just go ahead and book 2 days in a row. I don't like my clients to feel rushed. I just did a mediation the other day, very high asset, $20 million case. And at the end of the first day, we actually had everything, great mediator, got everything hammered out, great counsel on the other side, everybody, and both clients were incredibly intelligent, and all the financials were at one entity with their financial advisor. So it was not hard. It was a little complicated, but it was something everybody understood. And even so, at the very end, I just felt like my client wasn't comfortable, and I wasn't comfortable with the way the numbers looked on the spreadsheet. And I said, look, we're not doing it. Let's just walk. We've got all day tomorrow. And sure enough, by the next day at 11:30, we had it all lined up. We had our financial advisor come in, run the numbers one more time and just make sure. And then we were good. Go play golf that afternoon. I mean, you can have a great day, but you better to add the extra time on in a high asset divorce, in my opinion. Otherwise, you've got to wait for another date with that mediator. And the good ones are taken. It is very, very hard to get in with a good mediator nowadays because it is required. And because it's so effective. It's so effective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one point to make for anybody who's new to this concept is that the mediator does not make a judgment.
Right. The mediator is not a judge. The mediator is a facilitator, and they can give you their perspective. You're going to be relying on your lawyer for advice, but the mediator can give you their perspective on the law, the judge, the facts of the case. And a good experienced mediator who has tried a lot of cases, who's well-versed in the law of your jurisdiction. And when I say that, somebody who knows what kind of alimony awards come out of your court, somebody who knows what your judge does on parenting time, somebody who knows, what's the high end and low end of an asset division in your neck of the woods, so to speak. So I can't go get a mediator out of Florida, out of Miami or Manhattan, because they're looking at alimony in a way that we don't look at it down here in Tennessee. LA has a completely different idea of how they're going to split things up than we do here. So you have to have somebody local who understands your particular county or your particular district and the law there. I think that's so meaningful. It makes such a difference. And I do get my favorites. I have got about 5 favorites right now, and I just rotate them as fast as I can get in to see them. Every single one of them is great with high asset, but every single one of them can handle, a basic divorce. And none of them are charging a fee that would be prohibitive to any of my clients. So I appreciate that too with these mediators. It gives so much talent. It puts so much talent out at the fingertips of my clients that's affordable. And I just think it's such a great experience for them. Now, with that said, my warning, you want to hear my warning to everybody?
I do.
I warn every client before we start, and every single client should take this warning. You walk in, you start telling your story. I say 9 a.m. That goes on an hour. Your spouse may be telling their story. That's another hour. You exchange settlement offers, or if you've already exchanged settlement offers, a new one starts coming over. I tell everybody. And then lunch comes. Okay. So you sit down, you have your lunch, you're kind of full after lunch, and you're just frustrated. And around 2 p.m, you think this is never going to work, that we are too far apart. They definitely don't get it. I don't know why I'm wasting my time. It's very frustrating. And I always tell them, you've got to get past that 2 o'clock mark, because after 2, usually people move really big steps. And when the big steps start going, then you just get down to the little nitpicky, are we picking the kids up at 5 or 6? Oh, boom, that's easy. What do we usually do for Thanksgiving? But there is a slow down to the process in the middle of the day that's slow, annoying, feels like you're pulling teeth to get them to get to where you are. It's one of the reasons I've started enjoying the 2-day concept too. Then you don't feel like you're going till midnight just to get something done. Look, can we talk just for a second about the pressure on that? Because I have a new theory on this as well. After my years of experience in this, I have mediated till midnight numerous times. I have mediated on weekends, very, very late, numerous times, and I don't do it anymore. And my new rule is, I think the old thinking was, look, you got everybody in a hot box. They're making decisions. You want them under the gun and get it done.
Don't interrupt. Let it go. Yeah.
Right. Because especially if you're getting what you want.
Yeah, that helps.
If you're getting what you want, let's stay in there, right?
Yeah.
But what I have discovered is the clients get tired. I'm tired. Whoever's drafting the documents is tired, and things get missed. And it's, even though it is tempting to wrap it all up, if you don't have a basic understanding of what that settlement is going to be by 5:30 and 6 o'clock in the afternoon, walk away and just say, look, we'll reschedule, because everybody needs to think about it. at that point, if you've come into it ready to move pretty quickly on some items, and you've exchanged settlement offers, so you know the parameters, you can go till 8 o'clock at night getting things drafted and wrapped up, and the little tiny stuff, I's and T's dotted, crossed. But I don't go late at night anymore, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. And I know there's lawyers going to listen to this and go, no, that's not how I do it. I get it, but I'm just over it. I guess I got too old.
I get it. I get it from your perspective, though. I mean, age and tiredness and 9 p.m. bedtimes aside, like it's just you're not yourself at that point. After you've been doing that all day long, it's a stressful situation from the start, and then you throw in just like a 12-hour marathon, and it's just. I can't imagine any good deals happening in that scenario.
No, and the mediators are tired, they tend to be older because they've got the experience, so they don't want to be up there all night. And then generally what happens to me is my fiance starts texting me, when are we going to Cheddar's? When are we getting a drink? When are you leaving? And I'm like, I'm not leaving. I'm getting it signed. And he's
I don't
mad
think I am.
wanting to know why he's sitting there drinking a martini by himself. So I've learned my lesson on that. We're just going to, it's too late. It's just too late for people. So you do have to pace yourself, but that's why I like my new 2-day policy for something like that is very high asset and needs that kind of focus. And where the parties I know don't want to wait another 3 months to get back with that mediator.
Do you find that people worry with mediation rather than a trial that they might have to concede more than they desire to?
I find that that they don't ever want to concede anything.
Either way.
No, if we wouldn't be going to trial if they listened to me, right?
That's
because
true.
They would have already settled it. And with the mediation, I find that most people who are used to negotiations, so let's say I have 2 business people, one's my client, one's opposing counsel. One's an opposing client, the spouse. If both of them work, if both of them are used to some level of financial sophistication, we will get it done. If I don't have that, it can be harder because the person who doesn't have that level of financial sophistication or just ability to make quick decisions or decisions at all has a real hard time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll bring, now not all mediators will let you do this. Sometimes I do want to bring can I bring my mom, or can I bring a financial advisor? And depending on what the other side says, maybe we do. Sometimes I'm the one being asked, can so-and-so bring in their financial advisor? I'm on always yes to that. The financial advisor should always be there if they need to be, because it's always going to help the spouse who doesn't have that acumen.
Totally.
I love it. I love to have that. And sometimes, you don't necessarily want their mom or their cousin or whoever to give them moral support, but sometimes it's not a bad idea because that person is going to back you up. And then they feel like they made a good decision. Your client feels like, oh, okay, I don't have to now go home and explain it to my best friend. I don't have to explain it to my family. Now, again, I never see that coming from the side that has the financial understanding. I always see that from the side of the person who's less able to make a decision because of a lack of either education on it or knowledge of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Well, thank you very much for explaining mediation. You led with saying, like, I love mediation, and you can feel that in the way you describe it. It's obviously it's a tool that's kind of forced upon people, but it's a tool. There's for good reason. It sounds like.
Yeah, for very good reason. So there's another thing out there that is called collaboration. We'll talk about that on a different podcast. Collaboration is very different from mediation, so we don't want our listeners getting it confused. We'll talk about collaboration at another time.
Ooh, I love a good teaser. All right, look for collaboration down the road. All right, well, thanks for listening to Guiding Families Forward Through Divorce. If you're considering divorce in Tennessee and want to explore whether mediation is right for your situation, Ann and her team can help you stay informed and make strategic choices. Learn more at hamertaylor.com or annhamerlaw.com. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. We very much appreciate it. And it's always great chatting with you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.